this country, the announcement says there's going to be a horse racing strike as well, because Rachel Reeves is, of course, trying to put a tax on horse racing. So next month they're going to go on strike. All meetings axed for a day in protest at Rachel Reeves.
Yeah, she wants to increase that tax from 15% to 21%, which I think is the same as the online casino slots kind of thing.
Which is a massive error.
Which is a big error. And, you know, it's one of the kind of pleasures that people still have left in this world.
Right.
Apparently it's going to cost the industry, that single day is going to cost the industry, I think, £700,000.
Yeah.
They're sort of striking at Lingfield and places like that. It's
Yeah.
a sort of big day for the kind of major meets. Yeah, I mean, you know, let's just attack everyone. They're so desperate for money. And as you say, it's because the Chancellor is economically illiterate.
Exactly.
She seems to go after the small targets and sort of completely ignore the big things that she needs to do. Plus, you know, look at pubs closing, look at all the other stupid decisions, idiotic, illiterate decisions that she's been making, which have actually ended up.
Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the British Report. Now, I hope you have all had your morning cuppa, because what we are about to dive into is more electrifying than a poorly wired kettle. Picture this: live television, the political arena, and a Conservative Party deputy chairman who decided right then and there that subtlety was for amateur gardeners. He did not just poke the bear, he wrestled it, put it in a headlock, and then proceeded to give it a rather comprehensive verbal dismantling. We are talking about a moment so brutal, so unflinching, that it had Rachel Reeves, Shadow Chancellor herself, reportedly exploding off-screen. Forget fireworks, ladies and gentlemen. This was a political supernova. A quick favour, if you are loving this, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers have not yet. It is free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Thanks if you did. Now back to the show. Right, so you might have heard the murmurs, the whispers in the hallowed halls of Westminster that political promises are about as stable as a house of cards in a hurricane. But rarely do we see someone stand up, point a very direct finger and declare that the entire deck has not just been reshuffled, but utterly incinerated. That, my friends, is precisely what Matt Vickers, the Conservative Party deputy chairman, did. He did not mince words. He took those words, sharpened them into a fine point, and then used them to skewer the current government's economic record and, rather pointedly, the Labour Party's perceived hypocrisy. This was not a gentle nudge. This was a full frontal assault on policy, trust, and frankly, competence. Vickers did not just aim at one target. He sprayed political fire like a rogue sprinkler system. His initial salvo was aimed squarely at the Prime Minister and the Chancellor, accusing them of what he termed breaking promises to voters and, for good measure, having trashed this country's economy. Now, if that is not a statement to get the political chattering classes in a tizzy, I do not know what is. To accuse the very architects of the nation's finances of trashing the economy, that is like accusing a chef of burning down the kitchen with a flambé gone horribly wrong. It is bold, it is audacious, and it certainly grabs attention. But Vickers was far from finished. Oh no, he was just warming up. He then pivoted with the grace of a professional wrestler to Sir Keir Starmer's recent comments regarding closer alignment with the European Union. And here, Vickers found his rhythm. He declared, with the emphasis of a gavel striking a verdict, this is another huge broken promise from the Labour Party. Now, this is where the plot thickens, where the drama truly unfolds, because as we all know, Brexit is not just a policy, it is a political religion for many. To suggest a party is backtracking on that sacred oath is to invite utter pandemonium. Vickers then embarked on a verbal inventory of Labour's alleged broken promises, a list that seemed to stretch longer than a particularly dull parliamentary debate. They broke their promises to our pensioners. They broke their promises to our farmers. They broke their promises to everyone at home who pays council tax. They said not a penny more on council tax. He reeled them off one by one like a shopkeeper tallying up a surprisingly large bill. Each accusation was a hammer blow designed to chip away at the Labour Party's credibility, to paint them as a political entity whose word is as reliable as a chocolate teapot in July. And then came the coup de grace, the finishing move in this political spectacle. Vickers summarised his assessment of Labour's manifesto promises with a flourish, stating, "Every promise that was in that manifesto, I've yet to find one that hasn't been broken." That, ladies and gentlemen, is not just criticism, that is a complete and utter dismissal. It is the equivalent of a chef presenting a menu and then the customer declaring that not a single dish on it is edible. It is damning, it is absolute, and it leaves very little room for rebuttal. But even then, he was not done with this particular point. He swiftly added, "But this is another broken promise. It's also just a distraction. The implication here is clear. Labour is not just breaking promises, they are using new controversial policies as a smokescreen to divert attention from their previous failings. It is a classic political manoeuvre, and Vickers was keen to expose it for all to see.
She lied to the public and she lied to Parliament, and the OBR have called her out. And it's one thing to lie to the public, but our Constitution has certain very firm rules. And one of those is, if a minister lies to Parliament and is discovered to have lied, and the OBR have made it very plain she did lie, they have to resign. The whole system depends on ministers not being allowed to lie willy-nilly to Parliament. So she did lie to Parliament, so she must resign.
Let's get very clear about this, because clarity is important when we're having when there's such gravity attached to the accusations. The Conservative Party have been through this themselves.
Now let us get to the truly explosive bit, the part that reportedly had Rachel Reeves needing a very strong cup of tea, or perhaps something even stronger. Vickers, without missing a beat, laid the blame for the nation's economic woes squarely at the feet of the current government, asserting, the reality is that Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer have trashed this country's economy. This is where the gloves truly came off. This is not polite disagreement. This is a direct, unvarnished accusation of economic malpractice. And he backed it up with some rather inconvenient facts, particularly for those in power. Inflation up nearly doubled. Now, inflation is the silent assassin of household budgets, a relentless thief that erodes purchasing power. To point out that it has nearly doubled under their watch is to highlight a very tangible, very painful reality for every single person paying for groceries, petrol or energy. It is a universal pain point, and Vickers hit it right on the head. He then moved to economic growth, or rather the lack thereof. Growth, we handed over the fastest growing economy in the G7. It's now the slowest growing in the G7. That is not just a statistic, that is a stark comparative failure. It is like being told you used to have the fastest car on the track and now it is barely chugging along in last place. The implication is clear. Under this leadership, the nation's economic engine has seized up, and then perhaps the most emotionally charged statistic of all, 21% more people are unemployed. They're out of work. They've lost the opportunity to provide for their families. Unemployment is not just a number. It is shattered dreams, lost livelihoods, and immense personal hardship. To attach such a significant increase to the current government is to hit at the very heart of their social contract. It implies a failure to protect the very fabric of society, leaving families vulnerable and without the means to provide. The human cost of these statistics is immense, and Vickers made sure to highlight it with unflinching clarity. But just when you thought he had delivered every possible blow, he added a truly provocative statement, one designed to sting and provoke a visceral reaction. The only people winning out of this government are benefits claimants. It's wrong. Now that is a statement that is guaranteed to ignite a firestorm of debate, to split opinions down the middle. It positions hard-working Brits against those perceived to be receiving state support, a classic, if often divisive, political narrative. It is a raw, unvarnished opinion, and it certainly does not pull any punches. It implies that the government's priorities are fundamentally misplaced, that they are rewarding the wrong people while neglecting those who contribute through hard graft. He then rounded off his economic critique with a defiant assertion, challenging a common narrative often heard in certain circles. Hard-working Brits out there working day and night know that it isn't Brexit that's cost them their jobs, that's causing them to pay ever-increasing taxes. It's the guy in number 10. This is a direct challenge to the notion that Brexit is the root cause of all economic ills. Instead, Vickers firmly lays the blame at the door of the Prime Minister, suggesting that it is domestic policy, not international withdrawal, that is truly hurting the British people. It is a bold counter-narrative designed to shift responsibility and redefine the economic struggle in the minds of the voters. Now, just as you are catching your breath from this economic whirlwind, Vickers, with an almost dizzying pivot, shifts gears entirely. From the brutal realities of the British economy, we are suddenly transported to the intricate, often opaque world of international diplomacy, and specifically the rather dramatic situation surrounding Nicolas Maduro. It is a testament to the fast-paced nature of these interviews that such a drastic change of topic can occur in the blink of an eye. Vickers did not shy away from expressing a clear opinion on the removal of Nicolas Maduro, stating unequivocally, "It is a good thing for the globe, it is a good thing for the people of Venezuela that he's gone." This is a strong, definitive stance, one that aligns with a particular geopolitical viewpoint. It frames the event as a positive development, not just for the affected nation, but for global stability and democratic principles. He then went on to articulate a clear vision for the path forward, emphasising the need for stability and self-determination. It's right now that there's some time put in place, some stability. Do whatever it takes to put a sustainable democratic election in place to allow the people of Venezuela to decide what comes next. That's the right thing to do. This highlights a commitment to democratic processes and the fundamental right of a nation's people to determine their own future. It is a clear call for a peaceful, orderly transition guided by the will of the populace.
Well, the problem is things have already turned. He's had 18 months and he's took us entirely the wrong way. When this government came to office, we had the fastest growing economy in the G7. We've now got the slowest. We had near record levels of employment. We've now got 21% more people unemployed. There were some devastating stories in the newspapers at the weekend about young people and the job opportunities, the Saturday jobs that they can't get anymore, the graduate jobs that all these youngsters have gone off to university to train for. There's none of them left either. Nothing's going on because anybody in this country who creates jobs is on the move. They're terrified to create jobs. The reality is what this government is doing to our economy is costing jobs, it's driving up prices, and it is causing anybody who wants to run a business to flee. It's terrifying, actually, what they're doing.
I think it's
Real
quite interesting
for people out there who are trying to make ends meet.
I think you're right to go down that line, and we've sat here today and talked about, his own.
However, the international stage is rarely black and white, and questions often arise regarding the methods employed in such high-stakes situations. Vickers acknowledged this complexity, particularly concerning the legality of certain actions, without getting bogged down in specifics. On the capture of Maduro and the potential for the USA to have broken international law, he adopted a nuanced yet supportive stance. When it comes down to did or didn't the USA break international law, I think that's the thing for the USA to put their case for. We haven't seen all the details of that yet. This is a classic diplomatic sidestep, acknowledging the question without fully engaging with it and deferring judgment to the party directly involved. It suggests a wait-and-see approach, an understanding that not all information is immediately available for public scrutiny. But his support for the USA was far from ambiguous. He then pivoted to an unequivocal statement of alliance and shared values, cementing the USA's crucial role in Britain's foreign policy. The reality is that the USA is a huge partner to this country. They're one of the countries in the world, players in the world, that share our values, share our interests. They're a huge partner to us in terms of trade, in terms of security, defence, intelligence. This is a robust affirmation of the special relationship, emphasising the multifaceted nature of the alliance, from economic ties to vital security cooperation. It paints a picture of deep-seated trust and shared strategic objectives, underscoring the importance of this bilateral relationship. And finally, he concluded his comments on this international incident with a clear directive, one that reinforces the need for solidarity with a key ally, so we should let them make the case for what they've had to do and what comes next. This is a call for deferential support, urging restraint and allowing the USA to articulate its justifications and future plans without immediate condemnation. It reflects a geopolitical stance that prioritises alliance strength and mutual respect in the face of complex international challenges. It is a pragmatic approach, acknowledging the intricate web of global politics and the importance of backing key partners, even when their actions might be subject to international scrutiny. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a whirlwind tour through the political minefield, courtesy of Matt Vickers. He did not just engage in a debate, he launched a full-scale offensive, balancing sharp criticism of the current government's economic record with a robust defence of a key international ally. It was witty, it was bold, and it certainly delivered on the promise of high-energy, unfiltered political commentary, the kind of moment that makes you sit up, take notice, and perhaps, just perhaps, wonder what exactly Rachel Reeves' reaction behind the scenes truly entailed. One thing is for sure, in the world of British politics, it is never, ever dull. Thank you for watching.